Hello, everyone. Welcome to the IERLab Podcast. I am Walter Lee, and today we dive into the world of overseas Chinese parent Wanghong, internet celebrities who share their daily family lives on Douyin. Now, we explore how these parents curate parenting practices across borders, negotiate cultural expectations, and shape ideas of disparate parenthood. Now, for millions of followers, blending everyday life with digital influence. For this, we have Andy Zhao, who wrote the piece titled Overseas Chinese Parent Wanghong on Douyin, Discursive Constructions of Diasporic Parenthood. Now, Andy, welcome to the show.
Hi, Walter.
It's lovely to have you, and I can't wait to get involved in today's talk. So, we're going to get straight into it. Now, how do Chinese parents living abroad who are popular on, well, people don't know, I believe it's called Douyin, right?
It's Douyin. Yeah,
Yeah, Douyin. It's more, is it like more of the TikTok
it's
of,
the Chinese domestic version of TikTok. Let's
yeah,
put
it's the
it that
Chinese domestic version of TikTok for those who don't know. How do they use their online presence to show what I guess you can quote, good parenting looks like? What does this tell about us about how culture, migration, and social media influence each other?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Great to be here. I think with this a phenomenon or this group of overseas Chinese parent Wanghong or influencers, it's important to know that maybe the intention of their online sharing or content creation is not really to discursively construct what good parenthood means, but
Hmm.
I would argue that the kind of potentially unintended outcome of what they do has a particular kind of impact on what contemporary parenting should look like, particularly in diaspora immigration. And the most important way for them to do this is quite similar to other Wanhong or social media influencers, which is to share lots of snippets of their personal everyday life in their host country or overseas, and also a lot of this kind of sharing is underpinned by this type of comparison between you know living here and there, or living in a host country and there back in China. And that
Right.
kind of comparison plays a very important role here because that justifies a lot of time. It justifies why they think they live in that particular way. And to your second question, the kind of intersection of culture, migration, and social media. Because much of today's family life, especially parenting, I'd say,
Hmm.
is heavily mediated by online discourses and
Hmm.
resources, both for and about parenting. Parents tend to go online to seek information about how to be a good parent, how to
Right.
raise their children responsibly and scientifically. And for migrant families and parents, which actually are relevant to what I've been researching over the past couple of years, this is particularly noticeable, particularly because many of these parents and families, they have very limited access to, resources about parenting in the host countries, and also because of the habit of looking for information through the domestic platforms in their so-called home countries.
Hmm.
And because of this kind of practice, online practice, norms and cultures of parenting often travel across national borders through the use of social media, as well as those influential individuals and content creators on these platforms, like the overseas Chinese parent Wang Hong examined in this particular paper. Now, I just to kind of mention a bit about the relationship between this paper and my kind of other project, which looks at not the Wang Hong on social media platforms, but actually the migrant parents who live overseas,
Mm.
and how they use digital technology. The Chinese parents that I interviewed who are currently living in Australia, for example, do suggest the
Mm.
usefulness of online social media influencers, or sometimes they call them parenting experts,
Yes.
in providing information, guidance, advice about parenting, about children, about childhood, so that kind of is reflected in my other project as well.
It is quite interesting. I am a parent myself, and there are times where I look to even AI applications as well to not only figure out what is. I like how you use the word scientifically because I like to use scientific based evidence rather than what someone on social media thinks, because in some cases, especially when it comes to Western families versus Eastern families, there is a lot of difference between cultural norms and what is appropriate, what is
Yeah.
inappropriate. There are, I grew up in Australia in a predominantly Western society,
Mhm.
and there are certain parenting things that happen in Korea where I'm based that I would maybe second guess as like, oh, that doesn't seem right to me, but then
Mm.
it's very normal in Korea or vice versa as well. So it is a very interesting topic, and I do think a lot of parents these days use other people as examples, but it does depend who really is right. Like there's sometimes they might seem like they're giving good advice, but on the other hand, maybe an expert in the field might disagree. But
Yeah.
I want to move on and ask, how does being popular online help these parent influencers support or challenge existing cultural and social rules within migrant communities?
Yeah. And first of all, my research does not actually involve, interviews with these social media influencers or Wanghong. But I think from the content of the videos that I examined, it can be seen that, there are kind of cases where these overseas parent influencers actually challenge the norms of parenting in a diasporic context. For
Mm,
example, I remember there was this person or account that I quoted in my paper, which I think that father was based in New Zealand, and he was talking about how he kind of opposed the idea that when you go overseas, particularly when you go to countries like Australia and New Zealand, which are kind of renowned for that kind of relaxed kind of atmosphere that is contrast to the involuted nature of parenting, the intensive nature of parenting in China. You should
mm,
just like be hands off and just chill, and you don't need to necessarily do too much to focus on your children's academic performance and etc. But
mm,
actually he was really kind of against that idea, because and then he kind of started to explain why, because of the kind of education system in those countries,
mm,
and migrants are actually quite disadvantaged in that particular context. So that's why he believed that diasporic parents actually should do more to support their children's academic performance, to kind of concentrate on well-being and development, etc. So I think there are kind of cases where these parent influencers do kind of challenge the kind of norms
mm.
um, among the migrant or diasporic kind of communities.
How do these parent influencers show the alternative parenting, let's call it, in a way
Mm.
that balances freedom from strict Chinese parenting norms? Or let's not like, I know that your study is on Chinese parenting, but people should also know that this is also something that happens within, countries like Korea and
Absolutely.
Japan as well. Like these parenting norms of, having that strict sort of conservative way of raising children is still very prevalent in these countries today. But let's stick to your study where it's Chinese parenting norms with the responsibility parents feel to do the right thing in a, let's say, new country.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I completely agree. This is not unique to Chinese culture because, there are a lot, and there are a lot of terms for, these kind of parenting styles, if we call it that way. like tiger moms,
Helicopter
helicopter
parents and
parenting, absolutely
yeah,
intensive parenting, and etc. And within China, at least, there has been kind of a lot of research talking about how parenting is this kind of intensive project, and the whole Chinese society is characterized, at least the contemporary one, is characterized by this kind of involution culture of involution, hyper competition. Parents are kind of completely responsible for children's development, and you should do whatever you can to make sure that they kind of gain advantage in terms of academic performance, in terms of all sorts of things.
right.
So, but I've observed that at least within kind of the overseas diasporic parent Wanghong, you can see that there are people who actually try to oppose this kind of idea and try to argue for the kind of necessity of a new form of parenting style in Australia or in other countries because of the kind of the nature, again, the kind of the I would say it's the kind of their own observation, but also their own imaginaries of what these countries mean and
Mm,
what the local parenting culture is like. So you can see, like, again, back to the point that they make a lot of comparisons. So
right.
they will kind of compare how Chinese parents parent in China and the so-called local parents. And by that, usually they refer, I think, to, if it's in Australia, usually it's like Anglo Australian parents and how
Right.
they kind of raise their children, and that kind of comparison to some extent justifies the emergence of what I called in the paper an alternative parenting style, because that's really a kind of, I'd say response or resistance to how parenting is kind of constructed and practiced normally in China. And of course, this kind of necessity is based on, again, the social context and norms around parenting in the host country. These parent Wang Hong believe that there's no need for them to be intensive anymore, to be helicopter tiger parents anymore.
Mhm.
It's more about, how it's easy to raise children in those countries.
Right, right. Now, let's stick with that, what you call alternative parenting. So, how do Chinese parent influencers on Douyin present alternative parenting as a way to escape over competitive parenting, while, still implying that parents are responsible for managing their own stress and them making the best choices for their kids? I mean, this is something that I also think about quite on a daily basis. What is the best way?
Yeah. So one of the key arguments I try to make, aside from identifying those different types of parenting norms that were being kind of discursively constructed through these parent Wang Hong on Douyin, the other key argument that I try to make is, despite all these different types of parenting norms, all of these dominant discourses um, tend to perpetuate an kind of implicit discourse of hyper responsibilization of parents who are made to make the correct decisions independent of their, migrant conditions. So in this way, parent Wang Hong kind of tactically portray themselves as the role models for their parent audience by being and becoming, both aspirational and unconventional. And I think this is it kind of implied in all three parenting styles that it is still the responsibility of the parents to make the best decisions for their children, whether it's intensive, whether it's alternative, whether it's resilient, the responsibility still lies on the parents. And the kind of implicit message is that if you don't do well, it's also the fault of the parents. And this is not, again, not unique to parent Wang Hong or, Chinese parents in general, but in parenting culture studies, for example, there has been this long-term argument that parenting itself is about responsibilizing parents, right?
Hmm.
Because the word parenting itself is quite new. And, previously people talk more about child rearing, raising
Right.
children, which to
Hmm.
some extent indicate a sense of collective or community-based kind of approach. Whereas parenting, the word parenting itself indicates individualistic kind of focus that it's the responsibility of parents alone.
Mm.
But for us in particular, who came from Asian countries, I guess we all know that raising a child involves not just parents, and parents are not the only, sometimes not the only decision makers in the family.
Right.
You kind of listen to your extended family, to
Mm.
grandparents, to other family members, to schools, or to society in general. So it's never a an individualistic kind of project. But I think overall, societal discourses tend to frame child rearing or parenting as an individualistic kind of project. And this seems to have been internalized or reflected, at least, in these videos that I have examined, that it is still what these parent Wanghong try to say or have emphasized is that no matter whether it's successful or not successful, it's still what the parents have done that have made an impact on the outcome, on the situation. So I think that's something that it's kind of a broader argument which links this particular phenomenon to the broader societal process that has defined what parenting looks like today.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. It is for me, like I said, I grew up mainly in Western
Mm,
society, and my wife grew up in a very Asian society. So we do share differences in parenting, and we do have different outlets of how we approach, and not only that, how we look up our information
mm,
on how to parent or how child rearing works, etc., etc. But
mm.
Andy, this has been an absolutely fantastic interview. I've learned so much from you,
Very
and
much.
I really hope that there is a possibility of having you come back on sometime in the future. Saying
Mhm.
that, is there anything that you'd like to promote, example, future studies, current works, or like I said, there is that potential of having you back on?
Yeah, thank you. So this is something I mentioned briefly just now, but it's this project that I'm currently working on that look at how digital, all sorts of digital technologies are being understood and used in migrant families, particularly in the Australian context, because I'm based in Australia. And one of the kind of the dimension of the project is actually how these migrant parents seek information and support from all sorts of online communities and resources, including Wanghong and social media influencers, because again, these are kind of what we call contemporary parenting experts, or at least they kind of frame themselves a lot of times as such.
Hmm.
So this will be, I think, very relevant to the focus of the lab, and this is something that my team and I actually working on in the research center that I'm based in now.
Well, I look forward to hearing more from you in the future, and I'm sure that we'll have another chance to speak sometime. But for everyone else who's listening today, I hope this was very insightful for you as it was for me as a parent. So thank you for listening to the IERLab podcast. Once again, I'd like to thank today's guest, Andy.
Thank you, Walter. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, and until next time, this has been Walter Lee, and you may click on your next adventure now.